Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you another piece of ordnance from history. This is something from a U.S. technical manual. This is from TM 31-210, Improvised Munitions Handbook. This is the grenade launcher mine. I will read you the instructions on this as I'm going through. There's some things I will omit, some things I'll add to. Now, description. A variety of grenade launchers can be fabricated from metal pipes and fittings. Ranges up to 600 meters can be obtained depending on length of tube, charge, number of grenades, and angle of firing. Materials required is a metal pipe threaded on one end, approximately 2.5 inches in diameter. The reason they're saying 2.5 inches in diameter, they were using in their example, and I'm guessing tests, the World War II pineapple grenades. So if you're using something different, like a US M67 series fragmentation grenade, and if you did this, I'd be a little careful, but the Russian F1 fragmentation grenade, you're going to have to determine what the appropriate diameter required will be, because what you want the pipe to keep pressure on the safety lever to keep it from flipping out of position and the striker activating. So you don't want a pipe that's too big, you don't want a pipe that's too narrow where the grenade is going to get stuck inside. Now the length of the pipe will be 14 inches to 4 feet long depending on the desired range and the numbers of grenades used. You need an end cap appropriate for that pipe, black powder, approximately 1 1/4 tablespoons to 4 4/4 tablespoons. It says for weight 15 to 50, I believe it's grams. It says GM, not sure on that. You need some way to ignite the black powder, either a safety fuse, fast burning improvised fuse, or some type of electrical wire with initiator, which can be improvised. They can be found in this manual. Grenades between 1 to 6. You will need rags appropriate for the number of grenades you're using. You will need one 30-inch by 30-inch rag, and then depending on the number of grenades, you will need 20-inch by 20-inch rags. You will need a drill and some string. You'd also need a little bit of paper or some type of material to put your black powder in. Now, first thing you're going to do, you're going to examine the pipe. You're going to check it for any cracks or flaws, meaning any type of dents that could cause the grenade to bind up inside. The cracks or the flaws where it could burst open when you want the force sending the grenades down the tube, downrange to its intended target. So inspect it, make sure the pipe is in good condition, not corroded. You're not going to have stuff binding inside, it ain't going to burst. Then you're going to go through and you're going to drill a small hole in your end cap appropriate for what you're using for your initiation system, if you're using fuse or some type of electrical wiring. Now at this point, you're going to go through, you're going to prep your powder charge. How much powder you put in it will be dependent on the range you want to get and how many grenades you're trying to send down range. I have down here that I copied the table that is inside the manual for 250 meters out to 600 meters for a single grenade, and then it has in here for 200 meters for 6 hand grenades. Remember, this is for the World War II era pineapple grenades. But you're going to prep your powder charge with the appropriate amount of powder required for what you're trying to send down range. Now after you get that prepped, you install your fuse, your firing wire appropriately. You're going to run that fuse or firing wire through that hole you made in your end cap and put your big ball or sack of black powder inside the end cap, and you're going to screw it into the pipe. Being really careful not to get black powder in the threads. That's a note in here for safety. Next, you will roll a rag wad so that it is about 6 inches long and has the approximate inner diameter of the pipe. So take your 30-inch rag, section it off to 6 inches wide, and then you're going to roll it up. They actually show in the picture, use some string if need be to hold it together. Keep that wad nice and firm, and you're going to push it down in there with some type of stick, rod, whatever you have to get it pushed down. Pack it over the top of your black powder. Try to squeeze out some of the excess air down here, trying to compact it down. That'll give you a little bit better pressures. Next, you're going to go through and you're going to prep your hand grenades. So what you'll do, depending on the grenade you're using, obviously, hold the safety lever, you'll pull the pin. When you load the grenade into the pipe, you're going to load it so that the fuse is facing your black powder charge. So that as it's coming into the pipe, it's going to slide over the top of the safety lever, holding it in place. Now, that may not seem right. You're probably going to think, well, I should turn it around this way. For when it's launched out, it'll go out easier. The reason you load it this way is pretty simple if you think about it. If you load it this direction, you have the explosive charge going off down here. If it somehow breaches past this wad, it could open up that safety lever inside the pipe, jamming it in there. But if it's in this direction, any excess force that may get past the wad will just go over the top, kind of keep this narrowed, and it'll slide out. Now, depending on the number of grenades you're using, after you get that first grenade pushed all the way down up against the wadding, you'll then wad up one of the 20-inch by 20-inch pieces of rag that you have, and you're going to stuff that down there once again with your wooden dowel, your stick, piece of rebar, whatever you're using. Push it down there, pack it down in behind this grenade, and then you're going to repeat grenade, wad, till you get the correct number desired. Now, I'll go down into the how to use. Bury at least half of the launcher pipe in the ground at the desired angle for the distance you're trying to reach. The open end should face the expected path of the enemy. The muzzle may be camouflaged or covered with cardboard, tape, and then a thin layer of dirt or leaves over that to conceal its location. Be sure that any material you put over the end of the pipe will not interfere with the grenades coming out. And be sure that the cardboard or tape you put over the end prevents moisture and dirt from falling into the pipe. Note the 14-inch launcher may be handheld against the ground instead of being buried, because you're only launching one grenade. Now, when the enemy gets inside your kill zone, You initiate the powder charge, the grenades will be expended downrange, will be sent downrange. Now, there is a note that if you are doing the farther distance, the 600 meter, you're going to have to do something to make sure that that grenade is not going to detonate before it reaches that distance. There is in the manual ways to change out the fuse so that you can give it a longer delay time. So instead of your 3 to 5 second normal fuse on a US hand grenade or 1 to 3 on a Russian, change that out, put in a different type of fuse so that it'll go out farther before it detonates. I have seen this mine inside other manuals and other survival books over the years. I know I've seen diagrams where it recommended taking this and tying it up in the branches of the tree, pointing it down a trail or pointing it into a grassy area that the enemy is potentially going to cross through. Once again, making sure to camouflage it as best as possible. If you got to paint the outside of the pipe, you do that. Otherwise, darken it with some mud, some soot, whatever you have available. Camouflage it with the leaves of the tree and so forth. When your enemy's inside your estimated kill zone, detonate it, send the grenades down range. If you put it up in a tree, you don't really have to watch the angle other than you can angle it downwards into the kill zone if you so choose. But if you do that, make sure tape the end of the pipe to keep the grenades from flying out. Probably want to use some electrical tape, something that's going to give fairly easily. You're not going to tape the hell out of it, just enough wraps over it that it will contain the grenades from falling out. This really isn't too much different than the Livens projector, which I had done a video on a few months ago. Same basic concept, black powder charge, and then your projectile. In this one, in order to keep the grenades from prematurely detonating, we have a rolled rag wad here, which will spread out in there like your pressure cap on the Livens projector. It'll fill the space in the pipe, and that will take the force of the black powder going off, pushing the grenades out downrange. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. There are a few things I did not give you that are in the instructions, primarily with the initiation. If you want to find out that info, you got to find that out on your own. I'm not going to tell you. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot militia movements, always remember, essayons.